Hey everyone, my name is Wedge and welcome to day 2 of Amonkhet preview season. We have 2 full weeks of this and there's a lot to go still, so let's try to stay calm, not freak out, and avoid getting tilted by these crazy new split cards. Alright, in today's video we have a bunch more preview cards and a new god. High stakes indeed. I do hope you enjoy the video, and if you do, remember to hit that like button, helps out a lot. We'll begin with a set of monuments named after the Amonkhet gods. Okhetra's monument, Kefnet's monument, Bantu's monument, Hazaret's monument, and Ronas's monument. Each of them is a legendary artifact that costs 3 of anything to play. Each of them makes creature spells you cast cost 1 less mana based on their chosen color, and each of them has a trigger whenever you cast a creature spell. Okhetra's gives you a 1/1 warrior token with vigilance whenever you cast a creature spell. Kefnet's, target creature an opponent controls doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Tempo ruining, love it. Bantu's, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life, not bad. Hazaret's, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card, color me intrigued. And Ronas's, target creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. Wow, okay. That's just aggressive and powerful. I love all of these monuments. I think the idea is great. I love that they're uncommon. They'll be in Commander forever. And I have to say, without seeing the rest of the set, I love the green monument, super aggressive. I like the blue monument, talk about ruining everything your opponent has going. And I really like the white monument. Getting a 1/1 with vigilance added on to every creature you play, that's just good. I like these a lot. They're very cool, especially for limited play. Cast Out, great artwork, is 4 mana for an enchantment with flash and cycling costing 1 white mana. When it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until Cast Out leaves the battlefield. Holy crap, on a stick, this is just fine with me. Sure, it's 1 mana more expensive than the exiling effects we're used to, but you get the flexibility of not only flash, but cycling as well, and cheap cycling to boot. Yes, I'm 100% into this card, gonna be a limited bomb, easily first pickable, no question about that. I love everything about this. This is a slam dunk in design. Sacred Cat is 1 white mana for a 1/1 cat with lifelink and embalm costing 1 white. Now, this is not Doom Traveler, but Doom Traveler was pretty great in its time, and while yes, this is a common, it's an alright common. 1 white to embalm and get another 1/1 lifelinker isn't bad at all. Again, remember, the embalm mechanic in general gives new playability to seemingly blah cards. It's not the most exciting card in the world, but Embalm does make it usable somewhere. It's really not bad. Takrop Elite is 4 mana for a 2/2 bird warrior with flying. You may exert the elite as it attacks. When you do, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. An exerted creature won't untap during your next untap step. It is another common, but another absolutely playable limited card. I don't think you're going to first pick this a lot of the time, but there is value in that exert trigger. Anthem effect on your team does make this a 3/3 in the air for the turn in addition to whatever else you have going. Exert is a great decision-making mechanic. I think the Elite is another solid example of the kind of choices we're going to need to make in this upcoming limited format. Sign me up. Drake Haven is 3 mana for an enchantment. Whenever you cycle or discard a card, you may pay 1 mana. If you do, create a 2/2 blue Drake token with flying. Well, we're into it now. Drake Haven is the newest and arguably most powerful cycling benefactor we've seen in a long time. We're talking a Lightning Rift awesome here. Now, the Rift has history behind it, so I'm not saying the Haven is going to be as good as the Rift was, but there are some parallels to make here. Cycling was already valuable, but for 1 additional mana on each cycle, you can get a 2/2 flyer that gets out of hand really quickly. You know, we have to make something come together. I can feel the dirtle happening right now. Hey, Wharf Infiltrator, hey, let's do this thing. Essence Scatter is back. Well, butter my biscuits. It's been a few years, but I am beyond happy to see this creature counterspell again. An auto-include in many a sideboard back in the day, Essence Scatter is going to do a lot in this set, assuming we keep seeing decent gods and just all-around powerful creatures. Sure, it's a reprint, but sideboard staple reprints, you should pay attention to them. They wouldn't reprint them without a purpose. Essence Scatter being back, that means something. Alright, we're in it now, boys and girls. Kefnet the Mindful is 3 mana for a 5/5 legendary creature god with flying and indestructible. It can't attack or block unless you have 7 or more cards in hand. You can also pay 4 mana and draw a card, then you may return a land you control to its owner's hand. Yeah, this is so good. First things first, stop thinking that these gods need to be like the Theros ones. Just thinking that is wrong. Second, This is 3 mana for a 5/5 that can attack on curve if you play your cards right, literally. Having 7 cards in hand isn't easy to do, but you get a sweet draw effect on a stick, and you don't have to return a land. That's a May ability. Certainly rivals the Red God, may even be better. What I think is particularly interesting, you can use that return ability, return one of the bicycle lands if it's late enough in the game, then cycle it for all the value in the world. Synergies make me so happy. Definitely finisher worthy, at least worth testing. It's pretty hard to ignore 5/5 for 3 that draws cards though, am I right? My hype is sated for the moment. Open Heart is 2 mana for a sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand, you choose a non-legendary non-land card from it, that player discards that card. Okay, we've seen a ton of 2 mana discard spells in Magic, most of them end up being terrible. That 1 extra mana really does make it worse than Inquisition or Thoughtseize. That'll always be true. Anyways, the card's okay, it's nothing to write home about. What really sucks is that the heart can't hit legendary creatures, which means it can't hit the Amonkhet gods, and that's dangerous assuming some of them end up being awesome. They're already indestructible, this just adds another layer of protection. I'm curious to see how this all plays out, but for right now, Open Heart is your run-of-the-mill discard spell. Not terrible, but not particularly good. It'll do its job, I guess. Consuming Fervor is 1 red mana for an enchant creature aura. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3 and has, at the beginning of your upkeep, put a -1/-1 counter on this creature. I mean, this is Unstable Mutation, but red, which leads to one obvious conclusion: mono red aggro is gonna love the heck out of this card. Those games don't go that long anyways, who cares if there are a few -1/-1 counters grabbed along the way? This card gives +3/+3 for 1 red mana. Red is all about doing stuff now, dealing with consequences later, and asking questions never. Consuming Fervor is absolutely a mono red aggro card, regardless of the -1/-1 counters it adds. This should be fun. Channeler Initiate is 2 mana for a 3/4 human druid. When it enters the battlefield, put 3 -1/-1 counters on target creature you control. You can also tap it and remove a -1/-1 counter from it to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Fascinating design work. This is absolutely playable. It kind of does everything you want. It comes down as a mana fixer for the early turns of the game, and once you're done using that mana to ramp yourself, it's a respectable 3/4 on a 2 mana body. Talk about balance and design. I am all for this card. Again, totally playable, and more importantly, it really helps you fix your mana, which in this standard, I have a feeling we're going to need a lot of. Worst case scenario, just dump the counters on something else if you don't need the mana and you still have a 3/4 on turn 2. Love it straight to Embalming Undeath. Exemplar of Strength is 2 mana for a 4/4 human warrior. When it enters the battlefield, put 3 -1/-1 counters on target creature you control. Whenever the Exemplar attacks, remove a -1/-1 counter from it. If you do, you gain 1 life. Now, this is an interesting card. 2 mana for a 4/4 is pretty sweet even with that drawback. You can either play a 1-drop, play the Exemplar, destroy the 1-drop with counters, then you have a 4/4 on turn 2, or you can stack the counters on the Exemplar, attack every turn, and gain some life and power as you do it. Love the idea behind this. I love that you can just throw a weaker creature under the bus to then get a powerful 4/4 in the early game. Think about it this way. Remember the white-based human decks? Imagine playing Thraben Inspector, getting a clue, then wrecking the little 1/2 for this 4/4 on turn 2. That's actually good. I'm going to keep this creature in mind. I love the design behind it. I'm a huge fan. This is strong. Temmet, Vizier of Naktamun, is 1 white and 1 blue for a 2/2 legendary creature human cleric with Embalm, costing 3 of anything, 1 white and 1 blue. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature token you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn and can't be blocked this turn. Everyone hold on to your britches. Embalm is coming straight to Commander. That's basically what I see when I see this legendary Embalm creature. Think about it. You play him from your command zone, he dies, you let him go to your graveyard, embalm him, you get the token, and he goes back to your command zone because he's exiled. That's awesome! And we know there's already going to be a lot of embalm and token support in this set. It's clear Wizards has a plan here. Mummification, Commander, count me in. The cost is expensive, but at worst when you embalm him, he can target himself. So good. Prepared is 1 of anything and 1 white for an instant. Untap target creature, it gets +2/+2 and has lifelink until end of turn. Fight is 3 of anything and 1 green for a sorcery with Aftermath. Target creature you control fights target creature an opponent controls. Before we get into the real issue, it's a decent card. The combat trick is something we've seen before, nice buff and lifelink makes for some crazy swings. You can't say no to that. And then it turns into a green removal spell, which is always highly coveted, especially in limited play. The issue? This is a rare. I'm not the first to say it, and I won't be the last. This does not feel like a rare. I assume the only reason it's rare is because of limited play, but even then, the flexibility isn't good enough to warrant rare treatment, I don't think. We've seen stronger green removal at uncommon. I get that Aftermath adds value, but at the cost of this high of a rarity bump, I'm not sure it's worth it. Onward is 2 of anything and 1 red for an instant. Target creature gets +X/+O until end of turn, where X is its power. Victory is 2 of anything and 1 white for a sorcery with Aftermath. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn. Okay, I enjoy these types of split cards, ones that synergize with themselves. Think about it. You give something a ton of power, then give it double strike, that's just brutality. Sure, the second part is a sorcery, but if we're talking limited and their shields are down, you can just alpha them right to the face, and with a buff creature with double strike, not much they're going to be able to do. Plus, more power also means Electrostatic Pummeler is real good, so is Fling, so are all of them together. I'm just saying we can do things here. And I'm glad this one is an uncommon and not a rare. I guess that's something we have to worry about now. Regardless, Ruthless Combat Trick, I like it a lot. We looked at so many cards today, just so many. It's unreal how many we looked at. If you made it this far in the video, put a little smiley face in the comments. You're part of the cool kids club now. Anywho, what'd you think? Do any of these cards excite you? What do you think about Drakehaven or the new Blue God or these crazy -1/-1 counter creatures? You have to admit there's a lot going on in this set that hasn't happened before or in a long time. So please leave your thoughts below and we'll talk about it. Also, be sure to stay tuned to the channel for the latest and most reliable Amonkhet spoiler information you could ever need. As always, thanks for watching and we'll see you next time. This video was brought to you in part by TCGplayer.com. Amonkhet is starting to look like a crazy set with a lot of different things we haven't seen before. If the set's pushed your buttons in the right way, you're in luck. Right now, you can pre-order boxes of Amonkhet from TCG Player for only $92 each. Great price if you don't have a local game store. Just click the link, helps the channel, everyone wins, we all get to hug, it's amazing. Enjoy.